Hi, everyone. Welcome to the seventh ever Solvio regular call. My name is Dominic Timel. I'm a founder and contributor at the Solvio Foundation. And we have gathered here, the five of us, to discuss what's new in the world of Solvio, as well as what we're planning to do next. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I split up the news in the last 2 weeks into a bunch of categories. On the design side, we have 2 points. The first one is that the wireframes for the Amos application are about 85% done. One of my to-dos, which I'll be working on probably tomorrow or on Tuesday, is to get it 100% done. But already, if I open it, you can see that all the different screens are pretty well not just thought out, but implemented on the design side. So we're planning to have 5 screens in the MVP, which is one more than we were initially planning, and in particular a search screen that will say our goal is to enable search, but we're going to do it only once we get a sufficient amount of data points. Notifications, that's quite obvious. Review is where you'll be allowed to add metadata about various resources, such as the format it's in, whether it's paid, as well as the URI address. And additionally, we have proposals, which are essentially the heavyweight maintenance of the resource tree. And we allow changing of the resource tree through proposals. So a proposal could be something like, merge 2 resources that actually represent the same resource. It could be connect 2 resources that should be in a parent-child relationship, such as the chapter of a book, as well as delete resources that do not represent, learning resources. For example, people spamming our database, or people making a mistake and adding something that is not a learning resource. And then I thought, how would people actually find that our database is not consistent or need some kind of modification? And so that's why we also had to add a resources tree, which is very simple. It's just going to a resource page, which is very simple. It's just going to list the resource tree. So we start with first order nodes. It could be things like medium.com, as well as other stuff. And then, you can click through and you can find out exactly the resource that you're interested in. Here, I used what we already have in the database, which is Tunda's mathematics categorization. And you can go, thanks to him, as granular as a single chapter in a course, in particular, sometimes even a specific theorem. And you can see exactly what's going on here. You can also review it with one click. But most importantly, also, if you think something is inconsistent, you can create a new proposal. Also, I should say, so yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too much into the backend specs here, but just like very, very briefly, we have, I think of it as like 2 main concepts. We have a topic tree. An example of a topic tree, or we also call it the knowledge tree, is what we have currently for mathematics. And then we also have resource trees. Yeah, so 2 quite different concepts. The topic tree is a tree of topics, and the resource tree is a tree that looks something like this. So you could have, for example, University of Oxford that have one of its faculties, then the year that you're looking at, the course that you're looking at, and finally the chapter of the course. So we can go very, very granular. And now what's very important is they're not actually trees. So the way we sort of, this came out of the backend spec calls that we had about 2 weeks ago. There are resources that should belong to multiple parents. Let's say I have an article from Hacker Noon. Well, then it should obviously belong to both Hacker Noon and to medium.com. Let's say I have something like a video from Crash Course. It should obviously belong to both Crash Course and youtube.com. If I have something like a course from Oxford, then it might belong to both Oxford and Coursera. So we essentially, to summarize it in one sentence, we allow linking of topics horizontally. Said slightly more technically, it's rather a DAG than a tree. So that's for the resources section. Where it becomes even more useful, this kind of data structure, is for the topics. And the reason is there are quite a lot of topics that do not belong into just one field. So we talked a lot about this. If you're more interested in this, watch the full length of the third ever Amos product call, where we realized that topics like political economy belong to both economics and political science. Computer algebra might belong to both mathematics and computer science. And one of my favorite examples, the concept of formal languages, which of course belongs to both linguistics, it belongs to mathematics, and it belongs to computer science. So you can have an actual academic topic or academic field be actually a part of multiple different parents. And so that's why we really allow to link topics as well as resources horizontally. We don't allow you to specify what percentage is which parent. So, if we feel that the topic is more than 75% one of the parents, then we just do it that it's just that. And if we feel it's between 25% and 75%, then we do 50-50. So I could give an example. Let's say the history of science, the history of physics, or the history of math. So in that case, I think that is about 80% history and 20% math. And so that would be categorized only under history. But there are a lot of topics like political economics, economics of law, that I think are much more closer to the 50-50 categorization. Cool. So that's just a brief checkup on our specs. And let's see what we have next on the schedule. Yeah, so I talked about the wireframes, and then I kind of gave you a very high-level overview of our backend specification as well. On the front end, we have the initial app structure. So that's pretty cool. We have all the Redux stuff set up. So that's great. The hardest part is, you could say done. Now we have to flesh out the components. And also I have on the list that we got even further than at the hackathon in the initial hydration of the database. So Tonda, in his spare time, was able to categorize the latter half of the courses in part A of the Oxford Maths Institute. So thanks a lot for that. On the backend side, we began working on the data models. So I'm in heavy contact with Ani. Every day we chat and call about the best way to set this up. On the business side, so we have a partnership with Learn Anything, which is absolutely terrific. As many of you know, they are already live for a few months or even years, and they are an app that allows you to learn anything. So let's say you want to learn cryptography, and you type it in, you hit enter, and you find the resources to learn cryptography. So this is very similar to what we're doing with Amos. And in particular, we pretty much have the same end goal. The same end goal is that there's a search bar and you type in whatever you want to learn and you get the best resources to learn it. Ideally personalized to what you already know. So that's really cool, and we see a lot of potential for collaboration, mainly in the future. Why is that? Because we have slightly different angles at attacking the problem from day one. So we're taking resources as the lowest granular level, and the learning paths that the app will output will essentially be done by an algorithm, while their approach is they do a sort of a collaborative model for study plans. And so when you look for something, you can pick one of the human curated collaborated study plans. Why do I see the two approaches as sort of converging in the future? Because I think that our model might be faster to bootstrap, but further down the line, it might be better to get sort of human curated study plans. So there's definitely a lot of intersection if you search for something, and there does exist a human curated study plan for your specific needs, then that might be the best solution. And only if there doesn't, then an algorithmic one can be generated on the fly. Next on the schedule. So one of the things I did last week is I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, actually, to record a very short summary of our project. The reason is that we have a lot of content on YouTube, and there are people coming from the community, such as Christian, who have been telling me that they've been watching our videos on YouTube, but it's all very, very long, and they don't have time to watch everything. That's a totally valid point, and for that reason, now there actually exists a 5-minute summary of the entire project. So that's pretty cool. I should maybe also add outreach or comms. We had a small update to our website, so a lot of you know how our website used to look. This is how it looks now. So I decided that we should get a professional website once we have some funding. It doesn't make sense to make a website for $1,000 or even less than that. It makes sense to make a proper one that can last longer. So this is what we have right now. Once we get the logo, there's going to be a nice banner or hero image over here, and this stuff is pretty much very similar. And then I also added the video. Over here, there's much fewer options than there used to be. You can either schedule a call with me directly, which is pretty cool. You just click here, and yeah, you can see exactly when I'm free and schedule a call. So this is for anyone who's interested in either joining the community or funding the project, etc. Right now, we're still a small project, so something like this is scalable. In the future, hardly. We also have a Solvio monthly, and actually there's been new subscribers, which I'm really happy about. So this is like the call to action from the website. And of course, this should be there as well for programmers that want to check our code. And finally, I also added sort of the progress. And for each of these, it's pretty cool. You can always click on it. So for example, ActProg, right? So I click on it. Oops. I click on it, and okay, let's see. So it shows me the contribution. So let's say I want to click on one of these contributions. Okay, perfect. And then it actually shows me who did that. So this is a cool database because it serves two functions at once. The first one is, of course, that like for on the website, you can see exactly where we are right now, the progress. And this database also has the second function, which is if we were ever to turn a for-profit, do an ICO, or any other necessity to quantitatively find out who contributed what to the project, then we just go to this database called contributions, and there we see every single contribution, right? So that's pretty cool. Here, contributions and contributions, bam. So we see every single person who contributed what to the project, and it will be easy for a third party to divide the company. Cool. We've also expanded the community quite a lot in the last 2 weeks. So Dimitri is my former colleague from Gnosis and an excellent front-end developer. Saif is a developer from Mauritius, and from my knowledge, he's right now learning React and Redux so that he can help us on that side. John is a student at Cambridge, computer science, and also part of the community. Nikita is the founder of Learn Anything, so that's great. And also a few days ago, Christian joined from Germany, who is working on a similar project to ours, but only in the sort of column of politics. So he wants to make it easy for people to learn about politics, and not just sort of peripheral stuff, but more deep down stuff, including political theory, political discourse. So I think that's great because, you know, that idea, if you generalize it, then you get something like Amos. And finally, on the design side, we have a new logo under construction for both Solvio and Amos. So I'm very happy to say that one of the best, I'm in touch with one of the best freelancers for graphics design on Upwork.com, and if everything works according to plan, then we'll be able to get that design very soon. And what is the team? What are we going to be working on in the next 2 weeks? So I would say begin scalably working on front end and back end. So initially I had, I wrote here properly working on front and back end, but that's, I mean, we've been working on it properly, but I think scalably is a better word. So one person has to do the app structure for both front end and back end. But then once that is done, it's our next goal is to modularize the entire project so that we can actually collectively work on it together, and together get it done. finalized logo is another thing that I'll be doing. We're also in touch with a few professional designers for some advice on the transition between the wireframes and the actual design. So the wireframes that you saw, the app I was using, it's terrific for fast making of like very rough and low fidelity wireframes. But then the transition from just wireframes to actual mock-ups, that's something that would be great to get some advice on. And then there's a few peripheral things that I'll be working on. So the plan was to this week to get in touch with what I call venture philanthropists, VPs. I've invented this term, but I guess it's the most accurate term I can imagine for a VC that invests in nonprofits. I wrote in my planning last week that I want to finish a Udemy course on cold emails, and I'm glad to say I've finished that, or at least most of exactly what I need from the course. So one of the things that came out of the course is the best time to get in touch is usually Tuesday at 8:50 a.m. Reason is, of course, on Monday people are catching up. And so the best time you want to be there is Tuesday, right before they get to work. Anything more to say on this note? Yeah, it's also great that we have the video, so I can send that. I think it adds a little bit more credibility, as well as sort of show emotional investment. And I have a list of approximately the first 10 contacts. The way I'll be, also, as many of you know, I'm going to San Francisco for almost 3 weeks in the summer. So that's not just for leisure; it's also to promote the project. And the idea is that we can actually organize, I guess, the first ever Solvio meetup in San Francisco. So that's another thing that I'll be doing is getting in touch with WeWork and other co-working spaces in that area to try to organize Solvio meetup to tell people about the project and get them involved. And lastly, what I have on my list, I want to set up sort of a swag shop. That'd be really cool, because that would mean that anyone in the world could order Solvio sweatshirts, t-shirts, and we would actually get quite a large commission for it. So I want to set this up because it's great. You do it just once, and immediately you can order clothing, Solvio clothing, for yourself, and also even possibly most importantly, since you get a huge cut from the price, then it's a way for people not just to support the project, but also for us, it's a way to fund the project. So I think in the past I might have been a little bit underestimating the value that private donations, individual donations might make to a nonprofit. So I don't know the math, but I'm pretty sure that when it comes to something like Wikipedia, at least 50% of their annual revenue comes from individual donations. So yeah, we should definitely go both on the B2B side and also on the B2C side when it comes to fundraising. And what better way is there for it than to also provide the people with some Solvio swag? I think that's a good and short summary of stuff we've been working on in the last month, and stuff we'll be working on, sorry, last 2 weeks, and stuff we'll be working on in the next month, sorry, next 2 weeks. Do you guys have any questions? Come on, let's discuss. Any questions on what we did or we're going to do? Any comments? Can anyone help in any way? Cool. So,
yeah.
someone.
From our side, from our Learn Anything, is that we just had a call with John, and we just sort of cleaned up the issues and the issue tracker. And one of the things that John was studying is databases in Postgres. And so you guys have already set up a database with Neo4j. So yeah, it's something that we basically are defining the schema now and the database itself.
Right. So I think we're pretty much in the same stage. I wouldn't overestimate how far we are. So I think that Ani decided to write for now, keep it in Neo4j, like the users as well. So yeah, like I guess get in touch with him because he's much more on top of this on the technical side. I just look at it from the sort of functional data model side. But when it comes to something like integrating databases, I think that he has much more of much more to say on that than I do. Cool. So thanks everyone for watching the 7th ever regular call. If you want to join our community, you saw that the best way is to hit up our website and schedule a call.
Oh yeah, Dominic. Also, one of the things I'm thinking about is that can everyone contribute to the Notion docs for Solvio, or is it something that only you and the team can do?
Yeah, perfect question. So when it comes to Notion, sort of our Google Drive alternative, we don't have a sponsorship from their side. So in order for me to add other people, I think we would have to start paying. Unless I think I can invite guests. Yeah, I'll check this out. Do you want to join because at the moment there was no need.
Yeah, sure.
But if anyone wants to join it.
But what I'm thinking and what we're doing for Learn Anything side is I sent the link to the chat. So there's a project by Facebook, which is a documentation site, Docosaurus, and we're going to set that up for Learn Anything, and then anyone can contribute to the knowledge base via pull request, which I think is really nice for your side as well, because then anyone can contribute to the knowledge base. So you don't have to invite to Notion or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely agree. So,
so I think
we're currently using Notion only for like unstructured stuff.
Okay, sure.
You're totally right for the topic tree. That will actually be structured text. We're using GitHub, and anyone can contribute to that through pull requests.
Sure. No, but I think I'm looking at your Notion right now, and I have a feeling that this can already be part of something that all public now can only see, but also contribute to. Perhaps not regular calls, but for example, things like I don't know, maybe sponsors. Even someone can sell in PR. Well, maybe you should consider this guy or this person.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that sponsors might not be a good example, but I see what you mean, and I think that it's important for the project to set up a clear line between what's coming out of the company, like things like contributions and the schedules for the calls, and then what can be crowdsourced or in effect what we want help with, and that should all be on GitHub. When it comes to something, what I'm trying to say is when it comes to something like sponsors, then they're also like, it's a B2B thing at some point. There also has to be a like a canonical database for who decided to sponsor this project and in what amount. But suggestions and things like that could definitely be done on a public thing. So we used to have a thing called the Solvio forum, And the reason I stopped posting into it recently is like two things. Number one is nobody was really like using it. Like you can see that all of the things are just me. Nobody was discussing there. But also, it's more like there are better things than the Solvio forum. So for long stuff, we usually discuss that in calls, like in the product calls. That's where we really like discuss long stuff. We don't write super long articles here. And then for short stuff like development stuff and like short stuff, we use Slack. And then so if anyone wanted to join from the community, they can get in touch and they can join the Slack, and bam, they're in. Or also we're planning to use Twitter much more because it's just an even more public way. This requires registration while everybody's already on Twitter to discuss some of the stuff. So I haven't posted here in the last few weeks, and it's possible that this will go. This will be replaced by better solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, and GitHub as well. So yeah, I think those are the three better alternatives: Zoom, GitHub, as well as Twitter.
I agree on Twitter for sure. Twitter is a good platform. Also, I'm not sure I've seen, but is the regular calls they're running on a schedule, or you plan them ahead of
Oh
time?
yeah. So that's why they're regular. So every second Sunday at 5:30.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and it's always like the regular calls. I really love them because not only is it motivation to do a lot of work, because then we can showcase all of that on Sunday, but also it's essentially like a documentation or like a log of the entire project, and we always see how much we've done in the last 2 weeks. And in the future, if you watch the regular calls, then you'll get a very accurate historical account for the whole project. Cool. Well, everything's been said. So thanks a lot for watching. And if you're as passionate about this idea of anyone being able to learn anything in any way they want and being able to get credentials any way they want,
Also, I've been thinking
then join our project. Yeah, Nikita, last
last
words.
last words. So with the study guide approach idea, like one of the things that would be cool is have like a study guide to Solvio or a study guide to learn anything. Like I got
Oh,
it.
I totally agree.
I wanna contribute to Solvio, or I wanna contribute. Like right now, if let's say I invite my friend to contribute, like where do I link him? Do I link him to the Solvio Foundation, or is there something like a better link I can give him?
I totally agree. So one of the coolest things about working on learning apps like Amos and Learn Anything are doing is that it also we can also integrate into it for people to find out about the projects themselves. So yeah, one of the initial hydrations we could also do is post, for example, the 5-minute summary, post the website, and set the topic be Solvio. So the topics don't necessarily have to be academic disciplines. They can also be information about companies. And I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for B2B work, as in companies can add the best way to find out about them, the way that they prefer it, and then they can showcase that link like amos.ms/gnosis, and then whoever clicks on that link, if they have a Amos account, it will allow them to learn about the company in question in a way that is personalized to what they already know, to how much time they want to spend on it, all that great stuff.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Cool.